Good evening. My name is Marissa Tang, and I'm going to be taking you back to the basics, the impact of emotional intelligence. I want to introduce to you my best friend, Layla. Whenever I get home from work, I get on my knees and my dog will instantly hug me. All I have to say is, Layla, huggies, and she'll jump up on her 2 feet, tail wagging, and I give her all the pets in the world. And in that moment, she and I both feel pure joy. You see, dogs are very simple creatures. They crave love, presence, and attention. And we as humans are not that far off. When they get it, they thrive, and so do we. That simple act does so much for them. So, how much more do you think it will take you and your organization when we as leaders intentionally step up for our team? What if we as leaders walked into the office and asked, how was your day? How was your weekend? How was that event you went to? Or how are you doing since blank? That's emotional intelligence in action, and we have the opportunity to use it as a power skill instead of a soft skill. So you might be asking yourself, well, what is emotional intelligence? Let me tell you. According to Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions, as well as recognizing, understanding, and influencing emotions of others. He breaks it down into five components: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, decision making, and social skills. Understanding a leader's emotional intelligence is vital as it sets the tone of culture and determines the trajectory in which the organization is heading. Leaders must set a high standard of emotional intelligence, such as self awareness and empathy, as their example shapes emotional intelligence that the team will reflect. For example, when daily decisions must be made and under pressure, emotionally intelligent people are better equipped to navigate those challenges, make balanced decisions, and foster high performing teams. Now, you must be thinking, well, what about technical skills? Someone's IQ. Isn't that enough? Although technical skills are essential, possessing high emotional intelligence often proves to be just as necessary, if not more, in cultivating that trust, increasing employee engagement, and achieving long-term organizational success. In order to do so, trust must be built and earned. It doesn't just happen overnight. Like they said, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is trust. For years, individuals have been told, leave your feelings out the door, suppress their feelings. However, there is when the right amount of space is not given to express those feelings or their concerns, it can lead to barriers and a lack of trust between leaders and their subordinates. However, leaders can increase engagement over time by knowing how to integrate the right level of vulnerability and understanding where those barriers lie, those boundaries lie, is equally as important. This is important because it drives team dynamics, which will help the team successfully reach their organization's goals. So tonight, I have the privilege of talking about how emotional intelligence can determine organizational success as it affects trust, shapes follower emotion, and influences organizational performance. I'm going to demonstrate this through a fun story that is very close to my heart that I grew up in my childhood. Then I'm going to be talking about how to practically implement emotional intelligence in your organization as well. And finally, I'll leave you with my final thoughts, hoping that they inspire you to keep pursuing developing your emotional intelligence, as I have learned that it is a lifelong journey of learning, one that empowers us to truly thrive in this life. So, let's start out with my favorite story. So, who remembers the three little pigs? The first pig built his house of straws. which was easily blown away by the wolf. The second pig built his house of sticks, which was also blown away by the wolf. Now, the third pig did something different. He built his house of bricks, which is everyone knows that's the strongest of the three, and the wolf could not blow it down. He huffed, he puffed, but he did not blow it down. I share this classic childhood story because it teaches a simple yet powerful lesson. How you build your foundation matters in life and in your organization. If there's no trust with yourself, with your team, your organization will be easily blown away and knocked down. However, if that fundamental trust is strongly built, that wolf of those challenges, those unforeseen circumstances will not knock your organization down. So once that trust is built, it takes an effort to maintain it. Now, the most effective are those leaders who understand their emotions and take the time to educate themselves on how to do so. This awareness can guide them in building stronger connections and fostering effective collaboration to solve challenges. This reflects a leader who is intentional about creating a safe space, not just for expressing emotions, ideas, and the feedback, but taking that input and implementing it. And this is going to foster the individual's growth, which in turn fuels the growth of the organization. A study was done last year on leadership effectiveness and found that when organizations focus on educating leaders, their strengths will only benefit the organization and those around them. One of the best ways to educate our leaders, which I have learned on emotional intelligence, is by walking through the four quadrants of relational nutrients by Dr. John Townsend is in a simple conversation. Quadrant one is to be present. Quadrant two, conveying the good. Quadrant three, provide reality. Quadrant four is call to action. We all have our strengths and we all have our challenges. And when we attune to our team's strengths and challenges, we will foster that trust, strengthen relationships, and enhance collaboration, ultimately contributing to a cohesive and productive organizational culture. Now, this goes beyond technical skills. There's a saying, you don't know what you don't know, and leaders, as I mentioned before, must educate themselves and their team on emotional intelligence. No organization is perfect, but leaders can gain valuable insight into what may be missing in their relationships with team members by understanding their emotional intelligence within the team. It looks different across the board, so it's important to pay attention within your organization. Ann Cooper Moore composed an article with her colleagues on the importance of developing lateral leaders. Now, what are lateral leaders? Lateral leaders are those who can influence direction without a formal authority. The purpose is to explain why focusing developing leaders, lateral leaders, is essential in supporting employee retention, career growth, and a seamless succession plan, which a lot of organizations don't prioritize. This is done by strengthening leadership capacity at all levels of the organization. The authors found that individuals in lateral leadership need a program to guide them to rise to the top. Lateral leaders must possess high emotional intelligence because they have become the ones that others are more likely to follow, driving growth for the organization through generations. Leaders can build trust when problem solving and achieving organizational objectives by recognizing and respecting others' opinion. Another way to build trust is through the credibility in successfully navigating relationships with high emotional intelligence lateral leaders, which by doing so, in letting them guide a situation that they don't know how to do so they can confidently collaborate on ideas with the team. And this shows a high emotional intelligence because they are relying on their team. When a strong foundation is built, self-esteem is increased, and a deep level of respect is a significant factor in the organization's success. So throughout my research, one on emotional intelligence, there was an article that stood out to me the most. And you might be wondering, what the heck is this table? Well, let me explain this. Katie Brow did an article that explores how imperative it is for emotional intelligence in careers where it is essential, such as healthcare, but it goes beyond healthcare. To evaluate someone's emotional intelligence, it's necessary to consider outside factors such as mental disorders, for example, autism. This study hypothesized that these individuals could have an incredibly high IQ and a low EI. However, let's say individuals who have Down syndrome, which is a form of autism, could have a low IQ and a high EI, but are disregarded based on one glance. She conducted a study to see if there was any correlation between autism and alexithymia, which is when individuals struggle to express emotion, since about half individuals with autism have alexithymia. However, the study concluded that if someone with autism had a difficult time recognizing emotions, it was because of alexithymia, not because of autism. I share this because it's crucial for leaders in any field to recognize the outside factors that can influence emotional intelligence. This table from the study explains that IQ can widely vary among individuals with autism, and it does not indicate their level of emotional intelligence. I wanted to share this study because it's crucial for leaders in any field, to recognize that outside factors does not determine emotional intelligence. And I wanted to repeat that because of how important it really is. These factors can create a domino effect, ultimately shaping the direction an organization will take. So this got me thinking of how other mental disorders that are common across organizations, such as depression or anxiety, can also impact a person's emotional abilities if not recognized or disregarded. Grasping a deeper understanding of what affects emotional intelligence, such as mental disorders and the capability of emotional intelligence growth, will help leaders be more compassionate, understand what can be controlled, and direct decision making in ways that improve the success of individuals both personally and professionally. So, to start with practical takeaways, I have this fun video I'd like to show you.
You can talk in front of me. They're nice. They're okay.
So, the first is to develop and implement a tailored emotional intelligence assessment strategy. Much remains to be discovered about how emotional intelligence can positively impact an organization. I wanted to show you Layla's cousin, Sadie. She gets love and attention in different ways than Layla does. For example, Sadie loves to be taken to the beach, the lake, the pool. However, as you can see in this video, mine hates water. The purpose of this story is that there's no one size fits all. However, the fundamentals are the same. Just how dogs need love, presence, and attention, so do we. Since EI looks different for each person and team, it is essential to consider conducting different measuring methodologies that best suit the organization. It's important to not just to look at the individual, but both group dynamics, because both offer a specific and general result that can be useful in moving the needle of success. Taking the time to understand both individual and groups EI will help provide understanding of how to continue to improve job performance, as it will give a baseline of what is going well and what can be improved. Number two, incorporate cultural context in each EI research. Understanding cultural context is one way to enhance research on EI. Cultural differences could provide an in-depth explanation and understanding of how EI is perceived globally, as it can help organizations adapt to some new perspectives and methods. This can be done through a comparative analysis of relative data between cultures. It is essential to be situationally aware and open when walking into each organization because a different way does not necessarily mean the wrong way. Since our world is evolving, conducting future research from all angles is essential. Now, the third point, explore the integration of AI into EI development. Since AI is here to stay, future studies can explore how to use AI as a resource to develop EI learning applications to help leaders effectively lead their organization. Specifically, the accessibility of these EI learning applications and models for the organizations. It is important to note that although AI is used to grow our emotional intelligence, researchers and leaders need to be aware of the limitations that come with AI because there's no black and white answer when managing the emotions of individuals. Now what? Mary Angelou, a famous civil rights activist, once said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And I wanted to share that quote because it really emphasizes the importance of emotional intelligence and being aware. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. I would like to end with this. 2 Timothy 4:7. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the good faith. I would like to thank God, my family, and my community that has helped me complete this master's program. I couldn't have done it without them, and I look forward to seeing what the Lord will continue to use to make the best impact. Thank you.